Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a deep dive into the history of film.
A massive topic.
Yeah, a huge one. But our listeners are all about efficiency, right?
Yeah.
They want the core, the
All
essence.
points to the good stuff.
Exactly. So think of this deep dive as like the shortcut,
Yeah.
like the express train to understanding how film went from, those jerky little images to
the global force it is today. Yeah.
Yeah, a global force. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. And for this journey, we're going to be using excerpts from this source, Eingefichter text, which is really comprehensive. It takes us from like the late 19th century all the way to now.
Wow, so like the whole shebang.
The whole thing, yeah. And it's amazing to trace these threads, how these early kind of sparks of innovation then just exploded and all these different forces, shaped this medium that's constantly changing.
Yeah, constantly changing.
Yeah.
So we don't want to overwhelm you with like every single detail.
No. It's more about hitting those big milestones.
Right, those pivotal moments, those like surprising developments.
Few things that really give you that aha moment.
Yeah, the aha.
So you can grasp like the whole trajectory of it all.
Okay, so let's dive right in at the very beginning.
The very beginning.
Like before film even existed.
The precursors.
The precursors to film. And it's crazy to think that film didn't just appear out of thin air.
Right.
It came from all this rich history of like older art forms.
It's true. It's like this, this rich tapestry of expression that it emerges from.
Yeah, so if we zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
The bigger picture.
Film owes so much to, storytelling, literature, theater, the visual arts, all of that.
Even just think about ancient traditions like Cantastoria, where narratives were paired with these, sequences of images.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So that like human need to tell stories visually.
Right.
That goes way, way back.
Way back. And, even before we had anything resembling a camera, people were just fascinated by light and shadow.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just think about like shadowography and shadow puppetry, which originated in the Far East centuries ago and then spread to Europe.
And, it's so basic, but it's still so captivating.
Totally, like those projected forms telling stories and entertaining us.
Yeah, and then you see how these early forms then evolved. Like by the 16th century, you have entertainers using camera obscura and other techniques to make these, spectral figures appear.
He's like magic almost.
Yeah, and then you have the magic lantern shows becoming really popular in the late 17th century.
Oh, yeah, the magic lanterns with those like eerie images, right?
Yeah, kind of spooky and captivating.
Definitely, and those actually morphed into something even wilder, right?
Oh, yeah.
Phantasmagoria.
Phantasmagoria.
Okay, so what was that exactly?
Well, you can imagine it was a pretty intense experience for its time.
Okay.
Mechanical slides, rear projection, live actors, even smoke sound effects.
Oh, wow.
They even tried to incorporate things like mild electric shocks.
Wow, that's way more immersive than I would have ever imagined for back then.
It really shows you that drive from early on to make something truly captivating and engaging for the audience.
Yeah, to draw people in.
Yeah, and they even had techniques like dissolving one image into another, or those rotating colored discs, the chromatrope,
Oh, yeah.
They were already understanding those visual transitions.
Wow.
To enhance the storytelling, even in these pre-film formats.
That's fascinating. Okay, so then we have these like scientific explorations, right? These guys like Joseph Plateau, Michael Faraday, Simon Stamfer.
Yeah, these are the people investigating stroboscopic illusions.
Yeah, and that leads to the invention of the phanoscope.
Or the phanakistoscope.
Yeah, these scientific toys that basically created the illusion of movement.
Right, by showing those quick sequences of images.
Yeah, slightly different still images. And it's amazing how those toys were laying the groundwork for something so revolutionary.
Right. It makes you wonder, how do you bridge that gap between seeing those still images one after another to actually perceiving smooth motion?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And these early scientists, they were tackling that fundamental question.
And they even tried to combine these techniques with the stereoscope.
Oh, yeah, the stereoscope, to add that sense of depth.
Yeah, and with photography. But of course, back then, they had those long exposure times. So
it was limited, but it shows that they were already thinking about creating a more complete illusion of reality.
Yeah, pushing those boundaries. So let's talk about Edward Muybridge.
Oh, yeah, Muybridge and his chronophotography.
The horse in motion, those cabinet cards.
Yeah, the ones that broke down a horse's gallop into those individual stages.
Yeah, and it started as a scientific study, breaking down movement in real time.
Right, just to understand it.
Yeah, but then he takes this incredible leap and invents the zoopraxiscope.
Which could project those sequential images, animation, creating those short animated sequences, yeah.
So what's really significant about Muybridge's work is that he went from capturing a moment to dissecting and then reanimating motion.
Exactly. And he wasn't alone in this, Etienne Jules Murray Audemars Anschutz. They were all doing similar experiments.
Wow, so many pioneers.
A lot of people pushing the boundaries.
And then Anschutz really takes things in the direction of entertainment with his electrician Schnellsehrer.
Oh, yeah, the electric tachyscope.
These short repeating films like wrestlers, dancers, everyday life displayed on this little screen.
It's amazing to think the first public showing of life-size moving pictures was in Berlin in 1894.
Wow, in 1894.
Using his device, so you see it's becoming less about science and more about just watching something fascinating.
Yeah, just the pure enjoyment of it.
And he started mass-producing these coin-operated peep show viewers.
Like those little kinetoscope things?
Similar, yeah, making moving images accessible to way more people.
Wow, and he was drawing in huge crowds.
Oh yeah, reports say nearly 34,000 people saw his shows in Berlin just during the summer of 1892.
That's incredible. So clearly people were hungry for this new form of entertainment.
Absolutely.
And then we have Émile Reynaud
Wow.
with his Théâtre Optique projecting longer animated stories to big audiences at the Musée Grévin in Paris.
Yeah, over 500,000 visitors.
500,000.
It's really a bridge between these earlier technologies and what we think of as early cinema.
Yeah, longer stories, not just those quick glimpses.
Right. His system was unique in that it used hand-painted images.
Wow, hand-painted.
Animated stories shown for longer periods, and that showed the potential for narratives, beyond just simple loops.
Yeah, something more substantial.
Right, and we can't forget Anschutz's large screen projection in Berlin in November 1894. That was also crucial.
Yeah.
Bringing that experience of moving pictures to a communal audience.
Okay, so that brings us to the brink of what we call the novelty era.
The novelty era.
Those early years from the 1890s into the early 1900s where things start to resemble modern cinema.
This is where we see the inventors whose names we really associate with the birth of film.
Right.
Wordsworth Donisthorpe, Louis Le Prince, William Friese-Greene, the Sklodowski brothers.
All making these fundamental early contributions.
The pioneers, really.
Yeah, and of course, Louis Le Prince's Roundhay Garden scene from 1888. That's considered the oldest surviving film.
It's only a few seconds of people moving around, but it's such a crucial piece of history.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating about those early experiments is that the main focus wasn't on telling complex stories. It was about the technology itself.
Just showing that you could capture and reproduce motion.
Yeah, like, look what we can do.
Yeah, the subjects were often just everyday things, family, friends, whatever happened to be there.
Okay, then we have the big names, Thomas Edison and William Kennedy Dixon, with their kinetoscope.
Oh, yeah, the peep box viewer.
Using those celluloid loops running past a light source.
Right. It was a huge sensation.
Yeah, people lining up to look into a box to see these tiny moving images.
Yeah, they had those vaudeville acts and other things filmed in their Black Maria studio.
The Black Maria.
Those kinetoscope parlors were really popular for a while.
So why did they fade out?
Well, the Edison Company, they were kind of slow to update their film content.
Okay.
And people started to get bored.
Yeah.
They did try to synchronize sound using phonographs.
Oh, right.
But the technology just wasn't there yet.
It wasn't quite ready.
Yeah, not reliable enough for widespread use.
So while the kinetoscope was initially a hit, other inventors were already thinking bigger, right?
Yeah, they saw that projection would be much more engaging for audiences.
A shared experience.
Exactly. The Sklodowski brothers, they even had a paying audience for their Bioscope show in Berlin in November 1895.
Oh, wow, before the Lumieres.
Just before, yeah, but they didn't have the resources to really capitalize on that early lead.
Okay, so then enter the Lumiere brothers.
With their cinematography.
That's the game changer.
Yeah, the real turning point, that first commercial public screening in Paris, December 28, 1895.
A date for the history books.
Definitely, they showed 10 short films in a cafe.
Wow, and what was so revolutionary about the cinematograph was that it was three things in one, right?
Exactly, camera, processor, and projector.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and their program was a mix of those actuality films like Workers Leaving the Lumiere Factory.
Yeah, those documentary-style slices of life.
Exactly, and then they even had a staged comedy, La Roseur Arrosée, the Sprinkler Sprinkled.
So smart, and it was an instant hit.
People loved it.
But what's interesting is that the Lumieres weren't actually that focused on becoming film producers.
Yeah, their main business was selling the cinematography equipment.
Okay, so they kind of empowered other filmmakers in a way.
Exactly. People bought their technology and started creating their own content all over the world.
That's amazing. And this era is what film historian Tom Gunning called the cinema of attractions.
Yeah, the initial draw wasn't about stories. It was about the novelty of seeing moving images.
That magical illusion.
The illusory power of it all, yeah.
But even with that focus on spectacle, we start to see some hints of narrative, right?
Yeah, Edison and Lumiere, they both experimented with simple stories.
And then we have Alice Guy.
Alice Guy with La Fée aux Choux, The Fairy of the Cabbages from 1896.
Considered the first narrative film ever made and directed by a woman.
A woman. That's a huge milestone.
Absolutely a pioneer.
It shows that even amidst all that excitement over the moving image itself,
Right.
filmmakers were already thinking about telling stories and creating these fictional worlds.
And we can't forget the May Irwin kiss, that short film with the close-up.
Oh yeah, the kiss.
Hugely popular, but it also sparked those early debates about censorship.
Yeah, that tension between entertainment and societal norms.
Right. A theme that comes up again and again in film history.
Absolutely. And let's not forget Australia's contribution with the Limelight Department.
Run by the Salvation Army, right?
Yeah, producing films for evangelistic purposes.
And they even made what's considered the first bushranger film.
Bushranging in North Queensland.
It's crazy how fast this new medium was adopted and adapted all over the world.
It really is for so many different purposes. Entertainment, education, religion, you name it.
Okay, so after that initial novelty phase, we see this boom in actualities and newsreels.
Capturing real-world events.
Yeah. And it's interesting because at first, film wasn't really seen as art.
Not in the way we think of it now.
It was more like a vulgar entertainment.
Yeah, for the working class.
And so those early advertisements focused more on the technology than the content.
Just the marvel of moving pictures.
But as audiences got used to it, the focus naturally shifted to what the camera could capture.
News events, everyday life of faraway places.
And even in those early actualities, the cameramen were drawing on artistic principles. You know,
Yeah, framing composition perspective.
it wasn't just random pointing and shooting.
And there's this great insight from Kenneth McGowan. He said that even staged newsreels,
Those recreated events.
yeah, they brought storytelling to the screen.
Interesting.
It was a way to add drama and narrative structure to something presented as fact.
And the Lumiere brothers were really smart. They sent cameramen all over the globe.
To capture those views.
Yeah, like a visual travelogue.
Bringing faraway places to audiences.
And filming those unpredictable real events forced filmmakers to be adaptable.
Yeah, experimenting with camera placement and movement in ways they didn't have to in a studio.
Right, because things were happening in real time.
Exactly. And the exhibitors, the people showing the films, they would curate programs of related actualities
Oh, wow.
and sometimes even add live narration.
So interactive.
Yeah, giving context and explanation.
Wow, so much more dynamic than we think in silent film today.
And then there's that milestone, the first paying audience for a motion picture in a big venue,
Okay.
Madison Square Garden, for a boxing match filmed by Woodville Latham's Idoloscope.
Wow.
It was a massive event, and it also led to the invention of the Latham loop.
The Latham loop.
Yeah, a crucial piece of technology that allowed for much longer runtimes.
Okay, so the film wouldn't break.
Exactly.
And then the Corbett-Fitzsimmons fight, a full recording of a boxing match.
It was a phenomenon. It made more money than the live fight itself.
Wow, because of James J. Corbett's fame.
Yeah, he was a celebrity.
So it showed the potential of capturing and distributing these big events.
And by 1910, regular newsreels started to appear.
Covering all sorts of things.
Yeah, expeditions, demonstrations, current affairs.
Film was becoming the way people witnessed the world.
The primary source of information.
And we have to mention S. Percy Smith.
Oh, yeah, the nature documentaries?
Yeah, using time-lapse and micro-cinematography.
Showing the hidden wonders of nature.
Yeah, like those flowers blooming in fast motion.
It's amazing to see those early examples of pushing the boundaries of what film could capture.
Definitely. Okay, so while those actualities were huge, there was this growing movement towards narrative filmmaking.
More deliberate storytelling.
And this is where those pioneering cinematic figures start to pop up in different countries.
Each contributing to the development of film as we know it.
So let's start with France.
France, after the success of the cinematograph, the film industry there just exploded.
Yeah, and we see these key production companies forming,
Like the Star Film Company, Pape Frère, the Gaumont Film Company.
all shaping early cinema. And then there's Georges Méliès.
The magician.
Yeah, the former stage magician.
He owned the theater Robert Houdin.
And he saw the potential of the cinematograph to do more than just record reality.
To create illusions, to tell fantastical stories.
And the Lumieres wouldn't sell him a camera.
Yeah, they refused.
So he got one from the English inventor, Robert W. Paul, and just took off.
He was so ingenious.
And what's so brilliant about Méliès is how he brought his theatrical background to filmmaking.
That understanding of stage magic and illusions.
And he pioneered so many of those early special effects,
Like the stop trick multiple exposure dissolves.
completely changing the possibilities of cinematic storytelling.
And opening up new genres.
And he built this incredible studio for his Star Film Company.
A glass-enclosed studio with trapdoors, backdrops, all sorts of machinery. He could create these complex and imaginative narratives.
And he produced those early genre films like Manoir du Diable,
Yeah.
considered one of the first horror films.
And adaptations of fairy tales at the Cendrillon.
But his camera work was still very theatrical, right?
Yeah, he framed his shots like you were watching a play from the audience. So that static camera work eventually led to his decline in popularity as other filmmakers started experimenting with more dynamic techniques.
But we have to talk about his masterpiece, Le Voyage dans la Lune,
A Trip to the Moon.
the first science fiction film.
His imagination and his use of special effects were just groundbreaking.
Truly visionary. Okay, though we have Charles Pathé and the massive Pathé Frères brand.
They started by, well, let's just say distributing kinetoscope films unofficially.
Oh, right.
And then with Ferdinand Zecca leading their creative production, they became this powerhouse, the biggest film studio in the world by the early 20th century.
With all sorts of different content.
They could mass produce films and standardize distribution.
So they were key in making film a global phenomenon.
Absolutely. And then there's the Gaumont Film Company founded by Léon Gaumont.
And of course, the incredible Alice Guy.
Alice Guy, arguably the first director of narrative films and the first female director.
Yeah, a true trailblazer.
She made films about everything, dance, travel, comedy, even large-scale religious productions like The Life of Christ.
She was a pioneer, not just in directing, but also in experimenting with early sound film.
Really ahead of her time.
Okay, shifting to Germany, we have Oscar Mester and his Mester Film Company.
A major force in German film production in those early years.
And he was really interested in synchronizing sound and image?
Yeah, he developed the Tonbilder Biophon using a gramophone to play sound alongside the film.
So he was trying to solve that challenge early on.
Yeah, and the very first public sound projection in Germany was done by him in 1903.
1903. Wow, okay. Over in England, Robert W. Paul was another major innovator.
Oh, yeah. His cinematograph camera #1 was very advanced for its time.
And it could reverse crank the film,
Which allowed for things like multiple exposures.
which he used in his 1901 Scrooge or Marley's Ghost.
That's right. And both he and Cecil Hepworth were experimenting with different camera speeds to achieve those visual effects.
Like fast motion and slow motion.
Yeah, and Robert W. Paul's film, Come Along Do, is credited with achieving that real sense of film continuity.
So the action flows from scene to scene.
Exactly a key step in narrative filmmaking.
And Attack on a China Mission is another good example.
Showing continuous action across multiple scenes.
And then we see those early intertitles starting to appear.
Text to explain the action or dialogue.
Like in Paul's Scrooge.
Right. Those were the early days of trying to incorporate text into the visual storytelling.
And then we have the Brighton School. Those filmmakers like George Albert Smith and James Williamson.
They were really pushing the boundaries with action, continuity inserts, and close-ups.
Yeah, George Albert Smith was a real pioneer with trick cinematography.
Double exposure, reverse motion.
He did it all.
And Cecil Hepworth later really advanced the use of reverse motion with his projection printer.
Which was an early form of an optical printer.
That's right.
And Smith's experiments with close-ups
Like in The Kiss in the Tunnel.
were crucial in establishing that sense of causality between shots.
Yeah, you see one thing in a wide shot, then the close-up explains it or leads to the next action.
And James Williamson took those techniques and perfected them.
Especially in his film Attack on a China Mission, which has what's considered the first reverse angle cut,
Wow.
showing the same action from different viewpoints.
And he also made that fantastic short film, The Big Swallow.
Yeah, combining all those visual effects to create a kind of film grammar.
And his super popular film, Stop Thief, with those chase scenes.
That one sparked the whole chase film genre.
So influential. Okay, now over to the United States.
The U.S. in 1895, the Edison Company made The Execution of Mary Stuart.
Okay.
Very short, but notable for its use of the stop trick to show the beheading.
A pretty shocking special effect for the time.
Definitely. And then there's Edwin S. Porter working for Edison.
Okay.
He was inspired by Melly Smith Williamson, all of them.
Taking it all in?
Yeah, and he started using techniques like dissolves in his longer films.
Dissolves those gradual transitions.
Exactly. And his film, Life of an American Fireman, was really innovative in its storytelling,
Okay.
combining existing stock footage with new scenes to build this dramatic narrative.
And then, arguably his most influential film, The Great Train Robbery.
Also from 1903, often called the first Western.
It was groundbreaking for its attempt to show simultaneous action in different locations.
Yeah, using editing to create that sense of parallel action.
Yeah, use both stage scenes and real outdoor environments.
It really helped push film towards mass popularity in America.
And around this time, we see the first film exchange opening,
Run by the Miles brothers.
making film distribution more efficient and affordable.
Exactly. And then in 1905, John T. Harris opens the first permanent Nickelodeon theater in Pittsburgh.
Those little theaters showing short films,
Yeah, they exploded in popularity all over the country.
creating this huge demand for more narrative films.
And then you have Edison trying to control this booming industry.
With the Motion Picture Patents Company, the MPPC.
Formed in 1908, they wanted to standardize technology and resolve patent disputes.
Okay.
But their rules actually ended up stifling innovation. They discouraged longer films, and they inadvertently helped those independent filmmakers who moved to Hollywood.
Escape their control.
Yeah, the MPPC eventually dissolved in 1915 because of antitrust rulings.
So it was a bit of a power struggle.
Definitely. And as film kept growing internationally in the 1900s and 1910s,
You see new film-producing nations popping up,
adding to the diversity of early cinema,
like Italy,
Italy became a big center of production, especially in Turin.
with companies like Ambrosio and Scenes.
They were known for their historical epics like La Caduta di Troia, Quo Vadis, and the hugely influential Cabiria.
Those big spectacles.
Yeah, and they also had those popular slapstick comedies with actors like Andre Dede, known as Cretinetti.
So they had a range.
They did a bit of everything.
And then there's Denmark.
Denmark with the Nordisk Film Company led by Ole Olsen.
And the actor Viggo Larsson.
They became known for their sensational, often controversial films.
Like Den Feed Savinde and Levijakten.
And later, Aston Nielsen became a huge star in Urban Gad's Afgrunden.
But the Danish film industry had this quick rise and fall.
Yeah, they kind of burned bright and then faded.
And then Sweden,
Sweden developed their own style with Svenska Biografteatern.
led by Charles Magnusson, and with directors like Victor Sjöström and Moritz Stiller,
They started with adaptations, but then developed a more original Swedish approach.
often focusing on the natural landscape.
Yeah, beautiful imagery.
And then Russia.
Russia's film industry started around 1908 initially with companies like Pathé,
But then Russian companies emerged,
like Alexander Drenkov and Alexander Konzonkov,
whose company became the biggest in Russia.
before the revolution,
Yeah.
and back to Germany.
Germany, where Oscar Mester was that early figure.
They initially struggled to compete with foreign films.
Right. A big change happened when Paul Davidson brought Asta Nielsen and Urban Gad to Germany to form Pesciu.
Okay.
They focused on renting films instead of selling them.
Interesting.
And Mester responded by promoting German stars like Hanny Porten. But by 1914, German films still held a small share of their own market.
Yeah, most of what was being shown were imports.
And overall, by 1910, American films were dominant in most European markets.
Except France, where they had a strong domestic industry.
But even in France, American films were gaining popularity.
And Pathé Frères, they expanded significantly during this period.
They were pioneers in so many ways.
Yeah, title cards, subtitles, scrolling credits, posters. They even experimented with color.
Wow.
And they developed smart business strategies for working with exhibitors.
So they were a big force.
Yeah, but they found the U.S. market tough to crack.
Too much competition.
Yeah, so they focused on foreign markets even as the idea of American filmmaking was emerging.
Interesting. Okay, so along with this international growth and narrative storytelling,
Yeah.
the techniques of filmmaking were also evolving rapidly.
Yeah, those early years were a period of immense experimentation.
So we start to see artificial lighting being used more deliberately.
Floodlights, spotlights giving more control over the look of a scene.
Yeah, and theatrical fire effects got more sophisticated.
Adding to the drama.
And filmmakers started using low-key lighting.
Creating mood and atmosphere.
And continuity of action was getting refined.
Early examples of cross-cutting started to appear.
Like in Le Cheval en Ballet.
And D.W. Griffith would become a master of that.
Yeah, his film The Fatal Hour is a great example.
And point-of-view shots started being used more.
Putting the audience in the character's perspective.
Like in Back to Nature.
And insert shots, close-ups of objects or details for symbolic or narrative purposes.
Like in La Mala Planta.
By 1914, cross-cutting was a standard technique in America.
To eliminate boring transitions and build suspense.
Yeah, or create parallels between different storylines.
And then there was a big technical standardization in 1909 when 35mm film became the international standard.
That must have made things easier.
Oh, yeah, it made exchanging and distributing films much smoother.
And as films got longer and stories more complex,
They needed skilled writers,
so they started hiring specialists to adapt books or write original screenplays.
leading to more sophisticated plots and characters.
Yeah. And film genres started to become more established,
Comedy drama with their subgenres.
helping audiences know what to expect.
And then a huge development was the consistent use of dialogue intertitles.
Starting around 1908,
Like in an auto heroine.
those text cards with the dialogue
Exactly. By 1912, they were seamlessly woven into the scenes,
really changing how stories were told on film.
paving the way for synchronized sound.
Okay, so then World War I happens, and it has a huge impact on the film industry.
A global conflict always has ripple effects.
One big change was the shift to longer feature films.
Yeah, those short film programs weren't cutting it anymore,
And that meant bigger, more expensive theaters.
which changed the whole landscape of the industry.
In the U.S., it led to the decline of some of those older companies.
The ones that couldn't adapt to feature film production.
And there was a consolidation of power and a move to Los Angeles.
The climate and the diverse locations were perfect for filmmaking.
And that's where those big studios started to form,
Universal, the Jesse Lasky Feature Play Company, famous players.
which later merged with the Lasky Company.
Yeah. And of course, D.W. Griffith's films The Birth of a Nation and Intolerance were huge successes.
Although they were very controversial.
Yeah, definitely.
But they helped solidify the feature film as the dominant format.
In France, the war led to a shutdown of production initially.
And those big French companies like Pathé and Gaumont, they declined a bit.
They weren't the global force they once were.
Interestingly, the Italian film industry did okay during the war.
Although those diva films, they were a passing fad.
Yeah, those melodramatic features.
And Denmark's Nordist company,
They overproduced and demand dropped.
ending their period of prominence.
And the German film industry also weakened, partly because of the war.
But new talents emerged, like directors Joe May and Ernst Lubitsch.
Okay, so even with the war going on, innovation in film technique continued.
Filmmakers always find ways to push boundaries.
We see more sophisticated use of artificial lighting.
Floodlights, spotlights.
Yeah, and irising in and irising out became a popular technique.
That circular transition.
And soft focus was introduced for that romantic, dreamy look.
Like in Fashion the Cricket.
And filmmakers started using camera effects to convey subjective feelings.
Point of view shots became more common, like in The Story of the Glove.
And there were more experimental techniques, like those distorted images in La Folie du Docteur Tube.
And symbolic effects continued to be explored.
Like in Griffith's The Avenging Conscience.
And insert shots became even more prevalent.
Griffith used those close-ups of hands and feet in The Avenging Conscience to heighten the tension.
Yeah, and atmospheric inserts, those establishing shots that create mood, became more common.
Like in The Bride of the Clan.
And symbolic sequences using dissolves to represent time passing.
Like in Nelson, the story of England's immortal naval hero.
By this point, continuity cinema was the standard.
That logical flow between shots.
Cutting to different angles within a scene became more refined, and reverse angle cutting became commonplace.
That technique of showing characters facing opposite directions.
Yeah, as seen in Ralph Ince's films.
And flashbacks, often using dissolves to show the shift in time.
Like in The Man That Might Have Been.
And cross-cutting became even more popular.
To create suspense or those thematic parallels.
Like in Griffith's The Whispering Chorus.
And silent film tinting became a common convention.
Dyeing the film to indicate mood or time of day.
Yeah, like amber for daytime, blue for night.
And we have to mention the 1914 production, The Photodrama of Creation.
Oh yeah, that ambitious multimedia presentation by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society.
Combining sound film and slides.
It was an early attempt at integrated audio-visual storytelling.
But of course, most films were still silent until the late 1920s.
Right, sound was still a long way off for most filmmakers.
And alongside all these technical advancements, film as an art form was also developing.
Filmmakers were becoming more conscious of using these techniques for narrative expression.
Combining them with those theatrical structures.
Yeah, Griffith was known for his ability to create dramatic excitement.
Especially through his editing and those large-scale scenes.
And Cecil B. DeMille started exploring more morally complex themes.
Reflecting on those contemporary social issues.
Like in The Cheat.
And Maurice Tourneur focused on pictorial beauty and fantasy.
While also getting natural performances from his actors.